Yo, what's up? This is Mikey Dab, and welcome to the Hype Report. Each week, we recap the biggest stories from HYPEBEAST directly from the minds of the editorial team. I'm here to connect the dots. Let's get into this week's show.
Hey, what's up? I'm Patrick Johnson with HYPEBEAST Music, and today I chose probably the top story for HYPEBEAST Music, which was Drake surpassing the Beatles in another category. Controversial, brought a lot of conversation in, both on our website and on social, and of course, everyone had an opinion.
I did catch some of the comments.
Awesome. They were great.
I gotta say, I love comment section.
Oh, dude, yeah.
I love the comment section, no matter what I'm reading, but specifically music.
Yes.
Because there is no middle ground.
It seems like that in today's day and age, that everyone is either, everything's so polarizing. So, and Drake is probably the number one artist for that. You either love Aubrey or you hate him.
Big fan of Aubrey.
Or you call him, you either call him Aubrey or you don't.
All right, so let's get a little bit more specific on the article. So basically, was it 1964?
Yeah, the year the Beatles dropped, I think, 8 full-length projects. So while people say, oh, well, it's skewed toward the modern because of streaming services and all this other stuff, it's like, well, also, Beatles packed 8 albums into a year to get those hits in,
I mean, in all fairness, I do concur with the society being, okay, social media helps, streaming helps. I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner, where someone else surpassed them.
Yeah,
if you think about it.
That's true, but that can also speak to Drake's greatness too. You know what I'm saying? Like, if someone else could have done it, they would have. So with that, I think social media can also be a deterrent to get to that number because it's so saturated. There's a new single, there's a new hit that I forgot about yesterday,
EP, LP.
I forgot about Pop Smoke, and that was the hottest shit that was, a week ago. So
it's a daily, revolving door, so to speak, when it comes to music now.
And attention spans aren't there anymore. So
I can't keep up.
Yeah.
I'll put it
I work for the music vertical, and I'm constantly overwhelmed.
I was looking and I was reading other articles because I'm not sure what's gonna happen this week or what's gonna pop up for our topic. So I'm always breezing through.
Yeah.
I get an hour and a half into it and I'm like, wait, what was I reading? You just check the timestamp and it's 24 minutes ago, 1 hour ago.
Yeah.
I get lost in the sauce.
Yeah. So that's a testament, I think, too, to Drake's overall staying power is he found what works for him. He, is enigmatic enough to do it. And I think another thing that kind of helped propel this story into the mainstream was one of his other tattoos. And Drake is still the meme king, man. And he brought a meme back for this as well. So if you guys remember, he was on the set of, I think, a Rosé video where he was in full Dada sunglasses and black Timberland boots looking back at the camera. That was a meme for a good year, but man, that had to be 4 or 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. So when it was announced that he beat another Beatles record, he got the Abbey Road tattooed on his forearm and, of course, put that meme in front of them. So I think that, he knew, though. He knows what he's doing. So he's doing that to propel the discussion so the haters come out and that so his fans can then go back and say, well, he deserved it.
Is it a fire tattoo, though, is the question.
I'm all with it, man. And also,
really?
I'm really with the Gangster Doodles rendition of it that he drew on his Instagram page. It showcases a certain, brazen self-awareness that comes from Drake. To be honest, my personal opinion is he has some of the worst tattoos in the rap game.
The guy's a tattoo of Jacquard Noir.
Yeah. It's tough. And he also has the Steph Curry, Kevin Durant tattoo that he then covered up during the Raptors playoff run.
You don't really have a choice.
Yeah. And to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if he still got a Kawhi tattoo even after Kawhi left.
That's a pretty dope hat, by the way.
Yeah, thanks. I'm not from Toronto. I'm wearing a Raptors hat. My fiance from Toronto. I'm from Cleveland, so I'm a LeBron James fan.
Just slip that right in there.
Yeah.
It's not the sports segment, so I'm not going to even talk any smack.
We're not going to into it. Another one of Drake's favorite players, by the way. But yeah, I think the discussion is always, the past versus the present and how times have changed so much in the 50 plus years since the Beatles' dominance that they're still relevant. And people were also making the claim that it was hey man, Drake's not going to be relevant in 10 years. None of these things matter. And I think that's just a bogus claim to begin with.
That's absurd. Like I said, I'm a big Aubrey fan.
Yes,
we'll go by the first name basis. So it's hard for me to be oh, well, Drake didn't deserve. He deserves it.
Yeah.
In my eyes, what was the first Drake album? How long ago was that? To say that he's not going to be relevant in 10 more years is
That's
insane.
what I'm saying. You can put his run in the hip hop and pop game at who else at this point? Wayne had a huge run. Jay has had the run that he's had, but in terms of his pop sensibilities and to be able to do it for now 10 plus years, I want to say he's been in the game since 2008. You know,
Yeah, that's what it feels.
2009.
He just dropped that album with just re-releases.
That's what I'm saying, and that, again, it speaks to the power of like that's still gonna go number one, and then
I listen to it again.
re-enter more songs into the Billboard charts that then got him this record. And people, of course, had something to say about that too, where it was like, well, he's oversaturating the Billboard things to get a cheap win. But it's like, dude, the Beatles released 8 albums in 1964. He's literally doing what they did to get there. So. Yeah, I think it's just, a new generation and, people vying for a golden era that's
I want to speak on the way that they scaled it in 1964 as opposed to the way that they scale it now. So obviously, like we spoke about, we had streaming. So like just for the audience listening, so back then you had to put out an album for it to be recorded as a record into the Billboard.
100%.
That's why the differential now that people are trying to be like, oh, well, he just puts out singles and it's perfectly fine. Doesn't make a difference.
Right.
Like it still corresponds the same way.
Yes, yeah. It's just how people got their music back then versus how people get their music now, which is all on this beautiful phone I'm looking at for the statistics. But yeah, I mean,
what kind of statistics you got over there?
So Drake has had 35 hits in the top 10. Of course, I had to write down the names of the 1964 Beatle releases because I would have to hit up my mom otherwise.
You don't listen to the Beatles?
I do listen to the Beatles, but I'm saying I'm the type of guy where it's like, I have to listen to the hip hop that comes out in the news cycle for my job, and then I get home and I listen to the samples from that hip hop to be introduced to new music.
Oh, that's why I get one every 18 minutes on the update guy.
Yeah, so yeah. And I think the main argument that people are just making is like the difference between physical, records and then streaming, but also in Drake's like everyone's just pushing social media as like the proponent to his success. And I think it could also be a detriment because of oversaturation. And also you have to look at how the Beatles just controlled the airwaves back then. Like how many other bands in 1964 were doing what they did? And yeah.
You also have to think like they were in their space, they were doing the same exact thing.
Yeah.
So it's actually a direct derivative one to the other.
Yeah, and then people also just didn't have alternative forms of media. You couldn't go on YouTube. You couldn't, not go to the record shop and see the first, record on display, which was most likely a Beatles record.
But the one thing that they did capitalize on. So radio and TV, they were everywhere.
Yep.
So if there was an Instagram, they'd be all over that too. Like that's just what worked then. And there were more people watching TV back then than there are now.
Yes. So, but it'll be interesting to see, like, honestly, in 50 years, if there is a 50 years in the future, where Drake will be in terms of the pantheon of modern day artists, because people's attention spans are fickle. So while I don't think he's going to have the staying power and, retrospective that the Beatles' greatness does, he's still an iconic figure. And I think at the end of the day, all of his success is warranted, and people are still going to try and take a shot and take that away from him. But
well, I appreciate you stopping by today.
Yeah, for sure, man.
If you want to stay up on the latest music news, check out HYPEBEAST Music on Instagram or go to hypebeast.com/music.
What's up, guys? This is Bob Marshall, senior editor over at HYPEBEAST, covering mostly footwear and sports. But today I think we're going to dive right into sports for sure. The biggest news this week was the NFL hiring Jay-Z and his Rock Nation outfit to be a, quote, live music entertainment strategist.
Meaning?
So a couple things here to kind of digest. Biggest thing, what they're kind of touting it as the biggest thing is that he'll help decide live performances or live entertainment around Super Bowl or the like, right?
So basically, what was it, last year or the year before, where there was a little bit of a silent protest against artists at the Super Bowl?
Absolutely. And even some artists that are closely tied to Jay. Rihanna declined performing.
Mm-hmm.
Believe there was another artist, I forget, another singer that also declined. Oh, it was Cardi B. She declined, yes. And Trav actually performed. Jay said that earlier this week, Jay said, you told Travis that he shouldn't have performed, right? So why are you helping with this now? And Jay clarified that it had nothing to do with like the Kaepernick stuff. It was more to do about that he was playing second fiddle to Maroon 5. So Jay-Z's kind of like dodging the question on that, you know what I mean?
Covering his tracks.
Yeah, so it's, the NFL felt that last year or this past Super Bowl earlier this year because they didn't get the biggest acts that they wanted. And there was a lot of talk around it. Goodell was answering a lot of questions about Kaepernick not getting played or not getting signed or getting blackballed out the league and so on. So I think they were a bit fed up. They said the discussion started in January with Jay-Z when they were asking him, like, hey, what could we do? Like, what should we do better? And then from there, from what I read, is that in April, around like the draft or so, that negotiations starting to pick up, that, you know, with executives on both sides that trying to get Jay-Z on board, you know, to really help the league.
All right, so more importantly, like I feel like the most direct thing that they could have done was keep Kaepernick.
Yes. So,
I mean, like we can get rid of all the other smoke and mirrors, so to speak, because that's what I feel like Jay-Z is, smoke and mirrors at this point, and just go straight to what the actual problem was. The problem was, why can't I kneel?
Right. So,
even though, well, we know why.
There's so much to unpack here, but at the same time, you know, and I there's a lot of criticism that is being said about this, mostly because it's like, yes, Kaepernick wasn't involved in any of the discussions. Apparently, from what I read I think it was in the Times that broke the story that, or maybe I think somewhere else, it might be the Times, but they said that Jay-Z and Kaepernick spoke on Monday, like the week of the announcement, right? And they said the conversation wasn't good, is like what a source said, right? Not good was like the quote. Yeah, so that's a big critique. That's a big critique there, is that Cap was not involved. He's still not in the NFL. You know, he was basically blackballed out of the league, and they were, you know, owners in the league itself were found guilty, or not guilty, they settled, right, because Kaepernick sued the league and its owners for basically blackballing them out. So, but they settled, obviously, basically implying that they were guilty of it. But, you know, Jay-Z's, to go back, Jay-Z's not just helping them with performances, right? He's helping them contribute, is the quote, to NFL's activism campaign, which is Inspired Change, which started in 2018. It wasn't that then. We didn't have a name then, in which they work with players and decided to donate $89 million over 6 years to
like a contract.
Yeah,
it's like a contract.
Exactly, right? And $89 million to the NFL over 6 years is nothing, right? It's like what AB is still fighting for, you know? To like social justice charities and initiatives like at the player's choice. So the players get to choose where this money goes to, and that's what started it.
I like that. I like to brainstorm while we're going back and forth.
Yeah,
here.
Absolutely. And then I think there was more. So it's like, you know, I think a lot of people didn't really read the article to see like what some of the things that he's doing, like within this Inspired Change, is that he's going to create songs of this season, which are inspirational songs.
Sounds like something from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, right. And he's
Song of Footballs and Fire.
Yeah. So Jay-Z is like helping artists create these inspirational songs that will play during NFL broadcasts. He's going to set up Beyond the Field, which is like a platform for players to have podcasts and to kind of get their voices out there. And what he said is that how to gauge their success over the next 5 years is, you know, really comes down to, are the players' voices being heard, which is kind of dancing around the topic of like, can players continue to speak up about things on field, at football games, like at press conference? Are they allowed to? And I think while he, again, danced around it, I think that's what he's alluding to. Will players' voices be heard, you know, not just in this podcast realm, but if a player speaks up on field, you know, can he allow that? You know, again, they didn't touch on anything about kneeling, other than in a press conference, someone asked.
They're not gonna do that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna devil's advocate myself.
Let's go. That's
and
how
and back and forth. So, did they need Jay-Z to do this job?
No. So this is where, again, where the criticism comes in, that it's a marketing ploy, that they know that Jay-Z has been a long time advocate for any social injustices, however you want to say that. So they know that he's one of the biggest celebrities to kind of champion this type of stuff, and they know that it's going to basically, like, hiring Jay-Z is in a way like trying to absolve themselves of Kaepernick and what happened to him.
But like that has to be like transparent to people that are viewing this from an outside perspective. Like, okay, NFL, we've had issues. Whether we're not going to go racial, we're just going to say we've had issues.
Absolutely,
like, we know we have problems at this point, and now you're going to bring in Jay-Z, and there's a much deeper root to that too, because sometimes you just got to get your foot in the door to bring that change. And like, oh yeah, no, I'll sign. We'll do whatever we need to do here. Whatever, we'll create this environment, and then really once your foot's in there and you get a foothold, you can start making real changes. So
right,
like that's one perspective Jay-Z could be taking as well. Like, I'll do what they want me to do. And then once we get in, we really start affecting change.
Fucking shit up, yeah.
Yes, exactly. But that's, so like I'm doing devil's advocate for you and myself. So I was like, they didn't really need Jay-Z.
They don't, right? But I again, at the end of the day, it is still a business, and they are trying to make money as well as Jay-Z, right? That's the one thing where you kind of have to look at it and like be a bit skeptical of it. Like, Jay-Z's also a businessman. He's made some like shady business choices
But
as well,
look at
right?
DJ Khaled.
Certain, right.
Without Jay-Z, I don't think DJ Khaled's where he's at right now. Well, as far as like doing his social media and telling about his platform to use and using Snapchat the way that he was using Snapchat and then Insta, like he built that whole persona for him or helped him build that persona. So a lot of people don't realize that either. So.
Yeah, I think,
So he's a good guy for the job, and maybe they didn't need him.
Right, yeah, exactly. I think the NFL needs somebody for sure to, it could be the players that kind of do it, like a players association, but I think they wanted a name because they thought like, hey, if like we have this guy like championing us, like, hey, we can get back into the homes. But at the end of the day, like
what homes?
Yeah, the Jay-Z's that'll hold them accountable. That's what we hope, right? Even Jay-Z said, I have to believe, this is a quote, I have to believe that even if it's not sincere, we're going to get things done. So even Jay-Z is kind of like skeptical of it, but yeah, I think there's the biggest criticism is Cap wasn't involved. Cap's still not, still doesn't have a job. Whether or not he should have had a job those first 2 years for sure. Whether he deserves to have yes, he deserves to have a role. Whether he's capable of being a starting quarterback, I have no idea.
He might be like third string at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a 49er fan too. I'm kind of happy with my quarterback at the moment. So I mean, I love you, Cap, but yeah, I mean, if you want to come back and fight for the job, but I'm happy with Garoppolo for sure.
Garoppolo chilling. All right, you want to roll into the cactus plant business?
Yeah. So again, I'm also a footwear editor here.
You guys can't see the face he just made. It was like James Bond style. But.
Yes. And the biggest news that really our biggest drop this week, our announcement is for next week's drop, which is the Cactus Plant Flea Market Sponge, blazer mid, blazer chucker, however you want to, whatever, however way you look at it.
The shoe could get its own name at this point.
Right, and it's a Nike Bayou, which is like now what was Nike ID, just rebranded, and it touts like you can kind of create. There's like 117,000 different options that you can choose from with all the different eye stays, laces, upper materials, et cetera, et cetera.
The opening kind of reminds me of a Visvim. It's like very wide on the upper. It doesn't close at all. I was like, wait, I'm just going to walk right out of that bad boy.
Yeah, it has basically has like that cut off ankle vibe. So it's like deconstructed. It's a bit of like exposed in the inside. While I love the idea, I love that like Nike Bayou's getting this opportunity. I feel like this should happen more often, where you get to like create with the creator, with the collaborator. You kind of have a bit of fun with it. But I'm not a big fan of like everybody now being a blazer mid fan. Like nobody likes that shoe.
I'm never gonna. Honestly, I like the idea, but I'm never gonna go for that.
Like give me a blazer low. That would have been way better for sure. Like a blazer mid is just like I don't like
it's an awkward shape.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Absolutely, yeah.
That middle. I'm not gonna say middle child. Middle childs are great.
It's a middle
children
child
are the best.
It's a middle child for sure.
The fact that the options are so different, and then you can obviously it's 117,000 sounds astronomical, but when you think about it, they're just saying the material is not all the same, so you're not going to get the same shoe.
Yeah. There's like different pattern in the material. I do wish you were able to get a different color upper, but again, you have so many different color choices on like the eye stays and laces and the swooshes, which is fun. Like I love that you can kind of change the swoosh to whatever you want. So yeah, I think that is one of the bigger drops that are coming up.
Do you think like resell is going to be like a viable thing on that? Like if I'm a reseller, do I just customize like 300 pairs and go, you can't get them anymore,
Yeah, so that's a great point. It's like, how is that going to be determined? Like how is the resale value going to be determined? Because it's like ID'd, like which one deserves
new question
the best, right?
I've already formed a new question in my head. So there may be 117,000, but there won't be 117,000 pairs, will there?
I don't think so.
Based on material alone.
Yeah, definitely not. I can't. Right.
They're gonna find a way to make this exclusive. I already know it.
Yeah, they haven't really announced like what quantities is it to be, like, or even like how the purchasing is going to be, because people just go in. One click, buy. Now you got to like do all this extra shit. And like, what if you build a shoe, you spend like 20 minutes and then it's like, oh, it's sold out.
It's more like how fast can you design?
Yeah, word. You don't even got time to like hang out and like, have fun with it. It's
I don't really like this eye stay too much. Let me switch. No, sold out.
Word. Cool. Just wasted like valuable time. So that's going to be interesting. I don't think it's ever been like a Nike ID drop that was like,
do they email you? maybe they email like they used to do, like the certain customers would get emails about product.
Yeah.
And you'd be able to like, oh, I can purchase for 8 hours. Like maybe.
Yeah, like okay, yeah, like a members only that like Nike does on Nike.com.
Get a nice
sneakers,
little members only jacket.
But there's. We're
It's
all,
never gonna-
we're all like members only on Nike.com.
Yeah.
We're like sneakers app. Like there's so many of
all
us
12
that-
of my accounts are members only. I don't really, you know.
Yeah, dead ass. So it's like, so it's going to be interesting for sure. A lot of people are big fans of it just because huge supporters of Cactus Plant and the brand and the people behind it. So I think that in of itself, like in the industry, like people are really kind of geeking over it. But yeah, I'm curious to see what the resale values it'll be like. You know, how is the rollout going to be, and so on and so forth.
It's always a pleasure.
Absolutely.
I got to tell you.
Yeah. Y'all ready, Mikey?
Always a
Appreciate
pleasure.
it.
I'll see you next week.
Y'all ready?
Same bat time, same bat channel. For the latest in footwear news, you can check out HYPEBEAST Kicks on Instagram or go to hypebeast.com/footwear.
Hey world, how's it going? It's Keith Stiller, our editor at HYPEBEAST. What's going on, Mikey?
I am chilling as per usual. I'll just kick off the topic for today. What do we got going on?
So we have some fine art world beef going on between KAWS and this New Jersey-based gallery called Jonathan Levine Projects. They are promoting this poster done by KAWS to promote this very legendary, iconic show called Beautiful Losers back in 2004. In Cincinnati, Ohio. But for their first initial announcement of this poster, they called it a limited edition lithograph print. It sounded a little bit thirsty in terms of kind of like advertising for it, but you do need that sort of like kick up, that sort of like energy to get
A little
like
spice.
a little spice for demand, you know? And KAWS just sort of blasted them on their Instagram account, saying that it's not a limited edition lithograph. It's not limited at all. It's just like a bunch of posters, regular standard size, he made to promote the show.
He made to promote the show.
Yeah, that he made to promote the show. They came back. They corrected their announcement. It took a couple of days for them to do so. But, they updated it. I don't think they responded to KAWS's comment at all.
No, they definitely did not, because I scrolled through that. I was like, all right, let me see what's going on here. Social media is a hell of a drug. So like I started scrolling through the comments and reading through, and then obviously like it's more like a what did he say? More like a magazine.
Yeah.
That they would just roll it out. There'd be tons of these all over the place, and that it was misleading. And then I went back and read it again. I was like, damn, that is kind of misleading. And it's cool that I appreciated that he went in there to clarify.
Yeah.
On it. So it wasn't like one of those situations where, because that'll bite you in the ass, especially like nowadays, the way that social media works, is if he didn't say anything and that post goes viral and people buy these prints, and then, you get, who's going to complain the most of the people who are on the secondary market who are like, oh, I thought I was going to make money buying this because you made it sound like this. And then they won't even attack Levine. They'll go at KAWS, like it's his fault.
Yeah.
So like you have to be weary of what's going on inside and outside of your camp in regards to yourself.
Yeah.
So he's patrolling what his name is attached to, which is the smartest thing you could possibly do.
No, for sure, because he doesn't own that artwork anymore in terms of like the estate or whoever's handling the Beautiful Losers archive. This company, this organization, I think it's maybe supported by Aaron Rose, who made the documentary.
Okay.
Maybe. I have to look into that. But, like as you were saying, that he needs to kind of like protect his brand. But I think it's more so in protecting like his fans from buying into a work that's not the actual work, you know what I mean? Sorry, that's a little bit abstract. Let me clarify that again.
I'm following you, and I'm like,
So I think it's like showing support to fans more so. It's kind of like he's subtracting the hype of it and just kind of like more so doing it for people that appreciate his artwork mainly. That would just buy his work to appreciate it, rather than what you were saying, like the secondary market, so they could sell it in like reseller platforms or whatnot.
Well, I feel like he's always been like that, though. Like, at the end of the day, like I've never seen a situation where it was kind of like, even when he did the KAWS at the Brooklyn Museum and he was selling the shoes, like he went out of his way to give everybody else emails that waited in the rain to get a pair of shoes. Like it was never one of those situations where it was like, I don't really care what's going on out there. I feel like he pays very close attention to what happens in his realm or in his space. So I like kudos to him for that, because a lot of people don't pay attention to those underlying things. They'll be like, oh, I heard there was an incident with a KAWS situation, or there's another incident, but they don't realize that like there are a lot of underlying things that transpire in the mix too. So like something like this, it's rare to see that. Which is why like I appreciate it so much that like he would go out of his way to let people know, don't buy this thinking that it's limited. Like even if you are a collector and you're like, oh, autograph, I'll take that any day. Like that sounds amazing. Like that artwork is kind of fire, not gonna lie to you. But like realistically, I would buy it just to throw it up on a wall and I would tack it. I don't care about that kind of stuff. Like I'm gonna frame this and I'm gonna save it for 35 years. And
they're selling it for $450 a pop. Yeah, and this is not a limited thing. It's like it's kind of like an open kind of thing. They just had like a bunch of boxes filled with posters, I'm assuming, but KAWS kind of clarified saying that it's not limited at all. And then for that price, for that quality of paper, it's sort of absurd in a way. Yeah, it's a magazine.
It's a magazine. Like, so like that's the other thing too, is that I don't understand certain people who don't, if you're gonna buy this, like at least know. Like I don't pretend to know anything about art, prints, age. Like I wouldn't pretend to go buy a $450 piece of art and not know what it was. I would want to do some research. I would want to go online. You could Google's at your fingertips. You could figure this stuff out in seconds.
And I think that's what set him off, you know. And I think people looking at this situation that have no idea about like materials or anything, they might think like, oh wow, KAWS is insane for kind of like blasting this gallery that's just trying to make a sale, or you know, they're promoting him anyway, so he's getting publicity out of that. Why is he getting so frustrated?
He doesn't need that.
Why is he getting so angry? But then when you think about it, it's like you get what you pay for.
Agreed.
Those simple facts. So he's just being very courteous and supportive for his fans for doing that.
Yeah, and I also didn't think that he was being that abrasive at all in his comment back. It was very like direct to the point and acute about what the issue that he had was about the comment itself. Yeah. But like he was very fair and just about his commenting too. So like that just speaks to the kind of person that he is as well.
Yeah.
Classy guy, you know?
And this is one of like many launches that this gallery is doing for in terms of like artworks. So I'm curious to see how they're gonna start promoting like those items, quote unquote, rare items.
Yeah.
I'm really curious to see like what's next.
I'm curious too, which means I'm gonna be keeping up with articles from you.
Oh yes, sir, man.
You know how we do it.
Dabs on the mic.
Dabs on the mic.
All right.
For the latest in art and design news, follow HYPEBEAST Art on Instagram or go to hypebeast.com/art.
My name is Eddie. I am the managing editor here at HYPEBEAST, and Apple has started to roll out its Apple Card, which is a physical representation of Apple Pay. It comes in titanium, it looks like a credit card, and it's actually creating quite a lot of buzz right now.
I do like the features. I don't know if it's necessary, but I guess to a degree it is necessary for all these kids that use Apple Pay and don't have a way to swipe, because I get it all the time. Like, I'll be at a sneaker store, and it's like, oh, do you guys take Apple Pay? And I'm like, what? No. You got to figure this out, buddy. You better get somebody to send you money. But now that the physical Apple Pay card is available, but there's really not much different card-wise as far as interest.
No, not really. The interest rates were mentioned, and they're not spectacular. Mm-hmm. They're not anything, that's going to change the credit card industry or anything. The main thing that I was interested in is like the cashback reward system, which was kind of cool. Like some credit cards give like lounge access and like pre-purchase tickets to like large events, and that stuff is actually really cool, and I'm sure a lot of people use them, but the cash back is probably like the most important part.
Show me the money.
Yeah, right. And 2% cash back for like most things if you pay with Apple Pay is decent. Like 2% is a really good benefit, and a lot of credit cards are actually doing the 2% one. 1% is kind of like, that was 10 years ago.
We like you.
Right. And like 1% for everything is, hey, great. But to be honest, 1% is 1%. But then like the 3% for everything you buy at Apple, like how many times are you going to spend, on laptops and MacBooks for that to be really
feasible?
Yeah, like that's, I mean, I get it. It's
unless they start selling groceries, then we're on a different page here.
Chips and beer, right?
Yeah, I'll take it all day long. 2% on that. God, you put on some weight. Yeah, chips and beer, don't worry.
But yeah, like, you buy a MacBook for like a G, and that's 3%. Like, great, but then you're probably not going to do that for another year or two. Or
I'm on I'm on like 3 years on my MacBook.
right.
So like
maybe they could have pushed that up to 5%. That'd have been nice.
or they could have rounded off a little bit, gave you 2.5 on everything, and just say
Or
no
that,
3%.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that
yeah.
would have made a little bit more sense.
That's a pretty good idea too. The design though, I think is really cool. Like titanium is something that it's kind of to the point where it's nerdy, but like when people touch it and feel it, they're like, wow, like it's so light, it's so cool.
So I noticed when you make purchases, like immediately it starts to indicate through the app itself, like a color change.
Yeah.
Was my mind playing tricks on me or my eyes? Because the second he said that, it looked like the card changed color too. I was like, wait, is the card now yellow? I'm confused.
I think you're referring to the Marquez Brownlee video, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not physically changing color. That would be sick.
I was like, wait.
Yeah.
I swear to you, like I was like, wait. I had to rewind the video a couple times. I'm like, wait, is it yellow now? I'm confused.
Yeah. The app will show the color change, which it's actually a really good feature. A lot of people, when they spend money on credit cards and stuff like that, they get kind of lost on like how
Guilty.
they're spending, right?
Guilty.
Yeah. And I like that feature because then you're visibly able to see like what you're spending a lot of money on. Like I imagine if it's like food, it'll probably be green. If it's yellow, I think it was tech, right? Mm-hmm. If it's blue, it's probably like, I don't know, transportation. So then just at a glance, you can kind of just already start to know like, oh wow, I kind of overspend on like food.
Like
I should probably chill.
transportation too.
Yeah,
I
like
gotta stop going places.
right. Like my Ubering is way overboard. Like I should probably chill on that.
I'm guilty.
Yeah, and colors and it's better than just looking at numbers. All the time.
They're kind of like credit for dummies. Let's go with that. Like realistically, that color grading system, like me, I have to go into like my Equifax and I go in and double check and see what's late and see what's on time. But like to look at one card, which is the other issue too, is you're using one card from Apple, so you're locked into Apple, which was
Yep.
actually a pretty good point. But like you can basically see with ease, like you said, oh boy, I spent too much money.
Yeah.
But without it being this whole like check your Equifax. I don't want to log in a Credit Karma every other, even though it's an app and a face scan. But to just open it up is the ease in which Apple does it best.
Totally. And one thing that MKBHD mentioned is like he's not sure how it'll wear. I don't actually physically have the card, but I think we can maybe educate our readers on like titanium and how it works. Mm-hmm. Through heat, titanium will change colors. So it'll turn purple and it looks amazing. It looks.
Oh yeah, you're like.
Yeah.
Again,
Well,
podcast, you can't see the
Right,
pure
right, right.
enjoyment on this man's face.
Well, I'm an automotive guy. I like cars, and like titanium exhausts are like a thing in like the tuner world. And obviously heat affects the exhaust tips and the pipes and stuff like that, and they turn gold and purple. It looks amazing. Now, Mark has mentioned that it was coated in white, so that may or may not be the case if that's the paint is really thick or something. But I can imagine like these cards like in your wallet, it's getting hot. I don't know if it's that hot, but
the edge of the card isn't coated.
Right,
So
it's
you're probably
chamfered.
going to pick up all of that. Because I
Yeah,
don't know about you,
that's-
but when I'm sweating right now and I'm sitting on a plastic chair. So before
Yeah.
I know it, my card will be amazing.
perhaps, yeah. I mean, like the edges are polished, so it'll look really pretty, even just from the get-go. But yeah, as it wears, as it heats up, or as it scratches, like that patina will look really cool. And I mean, it's titanium; it should be forever, I guess. Well, not forever, but it'll wear really, really nicely. And
I wonder if I could sharpen an edge,
what do you want to do with
protect
this?
myself.
Wow.
Oh, you want this card? Come get it. Yeah, just in case.
Thinking outside the box.
I'm always like World War Z kind of guy. I have a survival bag right by my door, a titanium card when we hit the streets. Like we're good to go here.
If
To
it's
ready
World War
myself.
Z, you should probably
The
have
credit-
more than a credit card.
The credit card is out the window.
Yeah.
But I got the travel bag has like an axe. We can make wood. There's matches in there. Bring the credit
You
card.
don't have a zombie survival pack?
I do.
We all have a zombie survival pack.
It's right by the door. They have that little tube in there where you could drink water out of a pond. I'm ready to go.
I mean, I'm excited for the card. I definitely put in a pre-order for it. I agree with Marquez 100%. It is a flex. It is 100% flex because, I mean, Apple Pay in itself is digital. And, like, I actually have a Venmo card, and I showed my friend. They're like, what's the point of a Venmo card? Like, that doesn't make any
For that
sense.
remainder of cash that's there that I can't spend anywhere else. That's why. I mean, the card is great. It really is, because I do get that question a lot more than people realize. Like, do you take Apple Pay? And a lot of places don't take Apple
Right.
Pay. And like, so what do I do with these funds that I have sitting here? Do I buy free life in Candy Crush? Like, what am I going to do with this? Like, realistically, like, you need to spend it somewhere. So why not have that physical card? I'm just afraid of like the length in which, like, you see, I have an iPad in front of me, you have an iPhone in front of you. I have an iPhone next to me, I have an Apple Watch on my wrist, I have a MacBook Pro, I have a Mac in my desk. Like, everything is Apple. Yeah. Everything. It's kind of scary.
Yeah, he made a good point. I mean, it is a wall, right? But I mean, you don't have to use it.
Oh, don't say that. It's like you don't have to breathe air.
You don't have to use the credit card.
You don't have to if you don't want to.
There's
but
no annual fee.
I want to stay alive, and I want it to be easy. I want to make a note here, and then forget this, and then pick up my phone and go, oh, there's my note. It's right there.
Well, sign up then.
Already did. Anyway, all right. So it was a pleasure. Thank you for stopping by.
Thanks, man.
For the latest in tech news, follow hypebeast.com/tech.
Hi, my name's Jake. I'm an associate editor here at HYPEBEAST, and I'm going to talk about the recent controversy in China with several luxury brands. In particular, over the last weekend, Versace had a conflagration begin once this T-shirt that they put out was picked up by Chinese social media as recognizing Hong Kong and Macau as independent regions when actually they are controlled by the mainland of China. And then following Versace's apology, which they even had Donatella go on her Instagram and apologize personally, Coach and Givenchy had the exact same situation, except it was Hong Kong and Taiwan. On the back of their T-shirts, there were these fake tour T-shirts that, had just a bunch of cities where you buy clothes, big, spending areas. But what they did is they mentioned Hong Kong as autonomous, Macau as autonomous, Taiwan's, all that stuff, and this offended the greater Chinese populace. And the reason this is impactful is because it's indicative of these big luxury houses needing to hire more diversely. They have a very westernized mindset up at the very top. It's like very, very white. It's very, very Western, very, very European and American.
Very open.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely needs... I mean, the thing is, they have some people based in local regions at the higher levels. For instance, LVMH and Kering both have these positions that are the president of Greater China in their company. But I mean, that's one person for each company. And, each company has, a dozen or so brands that are like constantly like putting up products. Yeah. So you can't have one guy. Right. And of course it's a big deal because once you offend this nation, China, which is, according to a report, I was looking up the actual amount of money they spent in a year. Last year was $115 billion on luxury products in China and outside of China combined. That's a third of the entire luxury market in one nation. So, of course, Versace, Coach, Givenchy, they all immediately apologized on social media and tried to make good. It was a little too late. Versace, relatively unscathed, but Coach and Givenchy lost their brand ambassadors almost within 24 hours of the controversy. I mean, it's just like I said. It's indicative that they need to hire more diversely. They need to get more people from China involved in the higher decisions of their companies. And I think in the long run, it won't matter for them. They're going to be fine. They're not going to be boycotted. But
I mean, let's be real here.
Yeah, I know.
We had a similar situation. I believe it was blackface, if I'm not mistaken.
Gucci, yes.
With Gucci, and I think we're pretty good already.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like this stuff offends people and it kind of blows over. Not that it should. I don't think it should.
But I think that's a testament to like how people are so quick to reach out for the mob mentality, so to speak. And I was reading some of the comments also. I like the comment section just to get a gauge of like what the readers are feeling based on this. I definitely Twitter was not my favorite place to go, not at all. But reading some of those comments puts you in a different perspective because one person's like, oh, I don't understand why they would ever think about doing this. This is an outrage. And then the next person's like, do you understand Hong Kong is trying to get away? So it creates this realm of I guess people just don't know. I'm definitely in that realm too. I don't know all the details. I don't know all the specifics, but like you said, you have to pay more attention to what is coming out of your company, whether you're a parent company and they're under, it doesn't matter. Like there needs to be some kind of filter system. Even if you do have one person, like he has to give the okay on everything. Yeah. So if it takes a little bit longer, like another week for it to come out because it needs to be seen first, then fine. But like to say like one person can't do that job, they can. If that's your only job and you're getting paid X amount of dollars, your whole day from 9 9 to 5, you're sitting on that computer and you're just going through what's coming out of your company.
Right. And that's
High
what
and
I'm
low.
saying. Is these guys at the very top, they're doing way too much stuff. So what they need is one person for that position. That they need that China relations expert, that, and they need that for every region, really. They need it,
1,000%.
not just China, of course, but specifically in these situations. I mean, and what's interesting is that these companies have kind of bounced back, or will bounce back. The only one that had like a real impact was Dolce & Gabbana. I don't know if you remember last December, there was a big controversy with this campaign they were trying to put out. It was perceived as racist. It's a lot to get into at one moment. But other than them, though, the point is that these sort of blow over. They hire diversity officers, or at least they say they do. Dapper Dan touched on this recently with Gucci.
Yeah.
He said they're making some real positive
That I
changes.
know about.
So, I mean, these are major
Was
corporations.
it Abercrombie and Fitch? Was it Abercrombie and Fitch that had the T-shirts, and they were like racially charged T-shirts. They weren't really racially
H&M.
charged. Oh, was it H&M? Yeah.
The coolest monkey in the jungle.
Yeah,
T-shirt.
there you
Yep.
go.
I know.
It's kind of crazy, like
so much.
it just happens so fast too.
Yeah.
Like the insensitivity level is just breached, and it frightens me, like how fast people react. Like I don't know, when I was a kid, like things didn't bother people as much, and like I understand, like obviously through conditioning and your upbringing, of course, like the way that we're so reactionary now, and it's so instantaneous that you can get someone to respond to be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I think that kind of drives people sometimes to even make, I'm not saying with the China thing, I'm just saying in general, to make these kind of accusations or get so flustered so quickly is because they know someone's going to be there to jump all over it. I had an incident with Nike, as a matter of fact, not to go too far off topic, and I just posted something on Twitter and I got a call from Nike. I was like, how did you get my number, first and foremost? And two, like they were like, oh, how can we justify or rectify this situation? I was like, I wasn't even looking for that. I was like, a little upset about it, but I don't care. They were so ready to do what they needed to do to make the situation okay, like afraid I was going to be in an uproar about the situation. Like, I'm like, who does that? And then you turn around 3 weeks later and people do that.
Yeah.
It's a little scary.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, it's a big part of social media in general. This whole generation is so online that everything is processed in milliseconds, spread around the globe. It's some people pick out these certain issues. Oh, it's not a big deal. Some people pick out other issues. This is life changing. It's and depending on your perspective, it's a good or bad thing. But at the end of the day, I mean, I think we can all agree it's good that the companies are being held to a greater standard of scrutiny. I mean, these are major corporations. Like, we don't owe them anything, right? Like, they're worth like billions of dollars. Might as well, take them to task when they don't pick up on these like small, seemingly small things that they should be more thoughtful of.
Yeah, I definitely don't care if the guy down the block makes a T-shirt that's insensitive, but like if Gucci's doing it, we have a problem.
Absolutely.
All right, I think we touched all our bases today.
Cool.
For the latest in fashion and style, follow HYPEBEAST Style on Instagram or go to hypebeast.com/fashion. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of The Hype Report. You can find out more about the show and listen to other episodes on hypebeast.com/radio. You can subscribe to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anywhere else that you listen to podcasts. Leave a comment and let us know what you think about this week's topics. You can reach out to me on Instagram @MikeyDab, and that's 2 B's. Shout out to our editorial team. I'm Mikey Dab, and thanks for listening to The Hype Report.